hopefully we're going to do this correctly. So I'm Kelly Mattinson, and I am the Northwest Valley Council President. I was the fundraising chair as of last year, but now it is Heidi Gillis. Heidi Gillis, unfortunately, or actually fortunately, is a huge, very important person and works for a company that needed her today. She is doing some actual business and taking care of some of the things that are going on today, and she cannot join us, but hopefully she's going to jump on at some point. I see we have an Abarca family that came on. Abarca family. What school are you representing?
Hi, I'm Christina Barca from Haskell, Steam Magnet.
Awesome, and that's an elementary school, correct?
Yes, elementary, sorry.
Perfect, and Ryan C., what school are you from?
Oh, sorry, it's Tara Collins from Woodlake Elementary.
Oh, okay. And
That's
then there's an
name.
iPhone. Someone on their iPhone. Who are you and what school? They may not know that they're on their iPhone. They may think it says their name. Anyways, the reason I'm asking is, one, I want us all to know each other. If we were in person, we'd definitely be chatting and learning a little bit more about each other. But I also wanted to know how many of you guys are from elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, because they are a little different in every aspect of fundraising. So I can share the screen and you guys see it. Let's see if I can do this successfully. Do we see that as of yet?
Perfect.
You can see it?
Yep.
You have no idea how happy that makes me, people. All right, and it's big and pretty? Awesome. All right, more people are coming in. So basically, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Kelly Mattinson. I am a council president for the Northwest Valley Council. Many of you are part of that council, or you are part of the 31st District, where I help in the fundraising capacity. So fundraising today, we're going to go over some basics, from basics to beyond. We're going to try and go through this as swiftly as possible and then address some questions if you don't mind. So because this is recorded, we are going to try and go through the presentation and then get back to individual questions, because trust me, if you have the question, most of us do. So if you want to put something in the chat, Barbara will be able to help me address that, and we can go through that at the end. But also it is good because other people will see that. So I do want interaction. I do want us to share ideas. I think there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, but we are in a different time right now. So we're going to go over some basics of fundraising, and then we're going to take some time at the end to kind of get a little bit more specific, okay? So basically, fundraising from beginning, from infinity and beyond is what I want to say. The basics, we're going to cover basics, rules, types of fundraisers, and then we're going to talk about some ideas and brainstorming. The basics. PTA's primary mission does not include fundraising. I know some of you might find that shocking. PTAs raise funds to fund projects and programs. PTA's main fund is not to raise money. When you hear, oh, PTA, they do bake sales. We do a lot more than that, but bake sales add fun and funding for our programs. So sometimes we do those. So basically, I want you to know, as a PTA, your job is not to make money for your school. Your job is to support your school, to enhance the programs that your school offers. And that's what we want for our kids. We want our children to have a special, unique experience that is specific to their needs, specific and timely usually, and we want it to be special to our children. So that's why we raise funds, to enhance their education. A fundraising project must support the goals of the PTA. For example, you might not want to have a fundraiser at a bar, or you may not want to have a movie night that's an R-rated movie. That would go against everything that the PTA represents, correct? A fundraising project must be related to purposes of PTA as a tax-exempt organization. So this means we have to follow the rules of the government to keep our 501c3 intact, okay? We need to do things that are legal. We need to do things that are in accordance to our educational goals. So for example, I had a Girl Scout. People would say, oh my goodness, we need to sell our cookies outside a dispensary. That's where everyone gets the munchies. Or at a college party. That's probably not a good choice for Girl Scouts to be at. So let's not do it. Same kind of concept. The fundraising must be program driven. We're going to talk about that quite a bit today. So the guidelines. You want to check your insurance guidelines for green, yellow, or red light activities. This book is found in your packet under insurance packet, and it is so easy to follow. Seriously, the red lights are absolutely spelled out versus the green lights. For example, a bounce house could be a red light because bounce houses have been found to be dangerous when they blow away or smash children. We don't want that. But something like an obstacle course is acceptable. So you want to make sure that you follow the guidelines exactly. They're very specific, and if they aren't, you can always call and ask. Very important. You need to get approval by the principal and the executive board. Never do anything that your principal doesn't want. That would not be a good choice. Honestly, your principal is your friend. You want to help your principal. She is not your commander-in-chief. She does not tell you, or she or he does not tell you what they need and you write a blank check. That is not what we're here for. But in the same sense, you don't want to do anything that she really or he really objects to. That would not be very good. They are the leader of your school, and we are on their campus as guests. Always be friends with your principal. Approval of your board and your association. You do want to run ideas by your board and have them vote on it, as well as your association. For example, you want to have a family fun day. You want to make sure that everyone is going to support that situation because it takes a lot of volunteers. If you are the only one who wants to do it, you will be the only one doing it. That is not what PTA is about. You do not want to do everything, nor should you have to. But if you make dictatorship decisions, you will be doing it yourself. So always get the board approval and the association approval. Once those are approved in the minutes, and you can go forward, but you cannot do an event without asking for an event. You'll find that out from your secretary and your parliamentarian and your president, that they literally have to ask, can we host this? And everyone approves of it. And then every financial decision has to be approved as well. Place it on your school calendar. As soon as you have a calendar, as soon as you have an idea, please get it out there. The more advertising you get to your student body, the more participation you're going to get. Therefore, your fundraiser is going to be successful. If you have a silent auction and you don't invite anyone, it is going to be that, a silent auction. We can't have that. Check the PTA toolkit and forms for the proper procedures. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I need Barbara's help with that, especially for you LAUSD schools, which most of you are. There are several documents that we will need to refer to that we will do at a later time. The forms are very important. Recruit volunteers. Again, you can't do it by yourself, nor do you want to. Part of the fun is having the families involved. When I used to do an event at Beckford, we would have a family fun day, and we would have each grade level adopt a game. In that game, the kids would make art and crafts, and they would help add to the theme. So every fifth grader would want to go and see the cow they made for that game. And it was really fun, and it brought people to the program. You guys will learn as you invite people, if their students are performing, they will come. If there is food, they will come. It is all part of the plan. And you have your association and your board because they are parents that represent what your population will want, and that is very important. Most important 2 words in PTA, thank you. Make sure you always thank those people that help you. Remember, if you don't thank them, like you want to be thanked. If you don't get that thank you, sometimes you won't be so quick to do it next time. And we want to do that. Always thank your participants, your students, and your administration. Hold on, sorry. Rules. There are a lot of rules. Part of these rules are PTA, to keep us in line, to keep us friendly, to keep us doing what we need to do. And the other ones are governmental. We have to follow the government rules, just like you have to pay your taxes and follow red lights and green lights. We have those in PTA. Let me go over a couple rules. All fundraising must be approved by various groups, meaning the students, the administration, and your board. You must have an insurance approval, so you want to follow the red, green, and yellow lights. I suggest just going green. A yellow light can add extra insurance and things like that, and you can do them, but never do a red light. Just like you would never walk on a red light, don't do an insurance red light. Get the votes recorded in the minutes. You don't want anyone coming back and saying, we didn't vote on that, or I didn't want that. You want everyone to want it. Again, it doesn't have to be a unanimous, but it does need to be the majority. Some things need a 2/3 rule. And expenses and income, this is where your treasurer comes in. Your treasurer is going to be one of your best friends, trust me. You need to make sure that your expenses don't outweigh your income, unless that isn't your intent. If you have an event that's not a fundraising event, but a community event, you can actually spend more than you make. But if this is for fundraising, for gaining funds to help enhance your programs, you want to make sure you actually create some funds. And you need to make sure you have very clear records on how those are taken care of. Your treasurers are going to be learning about that, I believe, tonight. 3-to-1 rule. The 3-to-1 rule by the IRS. For every 3 events, you can have 1 fundraiser. The other 2 need to be educational or enhancing family community values. So how can we do that? We want to do presentations. We want to do, maybe we have speakers come, we have a movie night, a family fun night at a restaurant. Those are double dippers, okay? So you can go to a restaurant and have fun and community, but still create some revenue. But just know that's not a huge revenue winner. That is more of a get together and have everyone have fun and really get to know each other and create that culture and community. And you do get a little money on the side. Some schools make a lot of money on their restaurants. Some people have restaurant nights once a month. Some people have them once a year. Some people don't have them. Middle schools and high schools are a little harder for restaurant nights where their clubs and communities, smaller communities seem to have them, but those work well. Those are allowed. But when I talk about a fundraising 1 to 3, I mean a wrapping paper, candy sales, a direct plea, those things that are strictly to create revenue. You need to have other items to keep it 3-to-1. We are not about funding. We are about family and community and advocating for what our children need. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. Alcohol, we're going to talk about that. Let me get to some of these slides. We're also going to talk about sponsorship, endorsement, non-commercial, signing contracts, raffles, and money handling. These are a lot, so let's go over some individual slides. Our insurance, Barbara has updated the insurance in the chat. Am I correct, Barbara?
Yes.
So if you look in the chat, it tells you the insurance company, who to reach out to. There's an email and a phone number. They're actually very helpful people. I don't want you having them on speed dial. There's no need. We have so much documentation and support. Feel free to reach out to your council president, your district president after that, or call the insurance. There are certain things that we cannot explain that does need someone to explain to you, but really and truly, it's very clear cut in the programs. Barbara?
I included a link in the chat and we will update the slides before we send out the presentation to everybody.
Thank you. My apologies for that. A hold harmless agreement. PTA must obtain a hold harmless agreement and evidence of insurance from every vendor, concessionary, or service provided it uses. So if you have a movie night and you actually have someone come and bring the movie screen and the movies, they need to be insured. They need to be approved by LAUSD, and we're going to talk about some of those forms in a minute. They need to be, they have a good reputation, not just Bob on the street. We do, especially if there's food involved, need all kinds of vendors, insurance, and so forth. Does that make sense? Hopefully everyone understands that. We have providers that other schools use that have been approved. You might want to use those. The 3-to-1 rule, let's go back to this, sorry. The IRS suggests that for every 1 fundraiser you hold, you have 3 programs, family engagement type events for your family, like I spoke to. Alcohol is a big one. alcohol at PTA sponsored events. Like they say, if you bring food, they'll come. If you add cocktails to it, trust me, everyone is coming. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we have a problem in our school. It means that we are adults and we do like libations at our festivities. Serving alcohol at events. Believe it or not, alcohol is allowed at events, but they are off campus. As long as PTA does not sell or actually serve the drinks, it must be done at the venue. So for example, I always say the PTA person, a member, the president, someone of the board, even a member cannot be the bartender at your event. You want to have it at a restaurant where they have a licensed bartender that will cut people off and pour correctly. These are very, very important rules. The other thing is, let's say we want to have a casino night. I was told years ago we couldn't have a casino night because PTA could not serve alcohol, nor could they gamble. That is not true. I cannot deal the cards. You, as a PTA member, cannot deal the cards, but I can hire a company at a country club or at a facility or a hall that can do it. I've held many very successful casino nights. We've had golf tournaments in our district. We've had all sorts of restaurant nights and fun events that do include libations and gambling. Now, that being said, you want to make sure your principal agrees with this. I have had principals say that they don't want to have a restaurant night at a certain restaurant because they had an open bar. Now, most restaurants have bars now, but that is your principal's decision, and please stand by that. Ask your principal if they have a problem with it. Sometimes we do get a percentage on the alcohol, and that does beef up the check, so that's helpful, but sometimes we don't. If they think that that is a bad message for your children, we need to respect that. And we need to respect parents that don't want to participate, that do believe that that is not a good vision as well. We are encouraging it because it's fun and it is legal, okay? Alcohol and auction baskets. You all probably love me right now because I'm telling you very important things. This rule you may not enjoy as much. Alcohol and auction baskets are no longer allowed unless you complete a permit. So if you acquire a permit from the ABC, it's Alcohol and Beverage Control Center. You can get it at abc.ca.gov. It's form number 221. If you have a basket that has one bottle of wine in it, it is not worth filling out this form. If you have a huge donation that includes alcohol that you think you're going to benefit for, and you're going to create a lot of revenue, that may be worth it at a casino night or an outside event, but please don't have the alcohol on campus. If you're going to have a silent auction at your back to school night or your open house, I don't recommend it. I had baskets that were donated to us that did have wine in them. I actually took the wine out and put sparkling cider in to replace it. Honestly, it is not because we don't want the alcohol on campus. Someone could take it, steal it. That is a concern. But the most important reason is ABC wants their funds. ABC, the Alcohol and Beverage Control, taxes us on alcohol that we resell in an auction or a raffle. That is their legal right, and we will support that. So please do not try and sneak it in. Heaven forbid they find out. It is a very, very expensive fine. It will not only go against you as a PTA, but us as a council and a district, and we would really like you to follow these rules, okay? So you can have lots of baskets, just don't have alcohol in them. Sponsorships versus endorsements. I want to take a moment before we start this and ask Barbara to go over some of the forms because I'm not sure where that falls in the slideshow, and I'd like to get that off the thing. If you are having any event at an LAUSD facility, you need to complete these forms, and Barbara is an expert.
RFA stands for Request for Approval. And any event you do, whether it's on campus or off campus, you need to get a request for approval through LAUSD. And it's because you're using their name. You think, okay, if I have something on campus, then that needs approval. But if I'm doing it off campus, I don't need to do this. No, you need to do this because you are using the name. You are representing the school in some way. on or off campus. The request for approval forms are available online, and they're going to do a quick video on how to fill these forms out. I strongly recommend having one person in your unit or on your campus. It can be an employee, it can be a PTA member that fills out these forms. These forms are not rocket science. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to do them, but there are certain things that if you click will cost you money, or if you don't click them, won't cost you money. And it's just nice to have that consistency of the person who's filled out the form before, so they know what to do. You absolutely have to run everything, your entire calendar. Your PTA president will sit down with your principal and get approved at the beginning of the year. So your principal is already on board. Now you have to get LAUSD on board. And LAUSD is just going to give you some guidance. And they're not telling you you can't have 16 restaurant nights. You're more than welcome to have 16 restaurant nights. They just want to know about them. They're not here to tell you you can't do yearbooks. They just want to know that you are doing yearbooks. They're providing additional liability to you. At the end of the day, if somebody trips and falls, I had a hula hoop fundraiser go on. The school had done hula hoop fundraisers for years and years and years. And then LAUSD instituted this new policy. And the PTA, the principal said, yeah, don't worry about it. We've been doing it for years and years. And a child tripped and cracked a front tooth. We now have a liability. And because the principal said, oh, don't worry about it, now LAUSD is on the hook for it. We need to make sure that we cover our own assets and liabilities by making sure we follow all of the rules in PTA's insurance, the red, yellow, and green light, and LAUSD's. Because if somebody wants to sue the PTA, they're more than welcome to. Your unit has, what, $600 in the bank. So that's all they'll get. But LAUSD has significantly more money. Okay, see, so we must fill out RFA for yearbook sales? No, you don't. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought yearbooks up. But any fundraiser, most schools don't do yearbooks for their school, or most PTAs don't do yearbooks for their school. That is a school thing. And then they need to follow all of your school needs to follow all these LAUSD policies also. If you are doing the yearbooks as a fundraiser, if you're not selling them at cost, you probably should do an RFA because you are representing it. I promise you that one's going to sail through. It's not going to be an issue. There aren't going to be any additional things. When in doubt, fill out the RFA. I will talk about that more a little later if there are any additional questions, and I'll send this back to Kelly.
Thank you. So it was very interesting what she said to me, because I did not have to fill out these forms, but I did have other hoops to follow through back in the day. My kids are a little older, but now it is much more streamlined. Before, I would just call Josefina and she would go back and forth with me. So now there are rules. And the best thing is, like she said, if the same person does it, you may fill out the form one way and find that for the same exact event, they charged you more. That's probably because you answered a question differently. So really, the person doing it needs to look at each question and make sure they are announcing it correctly. All right. Thank you, Barbara. That was excellent. And I appreciate that more than you know. So we're going to talk about sponsorships versus endorsements. So let's say Bob's Pizza says to you, hey, we want to do a fundraiser for you. That's great, Bob. You're such a nice guy. You're going to give us 20%. Fantastic. So having a sponsorship is okay. Advertising for him is not. Recognizing support is okay. Endorsement is not. So I can say, thank you, Bob, for providing delicious pizza at our event and getting some money for it. When you get a donation, you can thank him for that donation. But you do not want to say, please stop at Bob's on Sepulveda Boulevard because he sells the best pizza this PTA has ever tasted. Sponsorship, taking money from a business to advertise for them, not endorse them, to show that they have been a support and thank them for their support, but not to say you should eat there because they're the best. You should use this realtor because they're going to give us 5%. That is not acceptable. You can thank them for their donation, but do not endorse them. Does that make sense? Usually if their company name and PTA is in the same, that's where it would not be okay. The name of the PTA or the names of PTA officers cannot be used in conjunctions with commercial activities, including the promotion of goods and services. So like I said, if your name and the PTA are in the same sentence with that company, it tends to be more of an endorsement. We can talk about that a little bit later. This was very interesting to me. Contracts. When you go to convention, which we get to do virtually this year, a lot of people say, oh, we want to do a fundraiser for you, and we want you to sign this contract. You as the president or the fundraising chair cannot do that. You need to get your association to sign off on it. So never sign anything without your association's approval. Contracts must be approved by the membership before being signed by 2 elected officers. One, which must be the president. The other one tends to be the fundraising chair. Here's how you sign a contract. This is what I did not know. I would just sign it Kelly Mattinson. You sign it, let's see, Smith PTA by Jane Doe, president, and the years you're president. Remember, it is the 1 year that the event is actually taking place in. How to sign a contract needs to include your title and your date of presidency. Isn't that interesting? I never knew that. Probably not a good thing to confess to, but it is. Raffles versus opportunity drawings. Does anyone know the difference? Oh my goodness. Raffle used to be such a bad word. It's not, as long as you follow the rules. Opportunity drawings, every attendee has a chance and there's no purchase necessary. So on the first day of school, if every kid gets a ticket, that is an opportunity drawing. If you only get a ticket because you're a PTA member or you bought a ticket, that would be a raffle. Raffle, participants buy a chance to win. The yearly permit is needed. It's an AG form NRP-1, and then a report must be made at the end of the year. So once a year, your treasurer will get a raffle permit, this form AG NRP-1, and at the end of the year, at the end of the event, they will fill out the NRP-2. So basically, you have a T and you make money. So you have a raffle. At the end of that event, you need to say how much the raffle made and what you took in. So it's very exciting that way. It's simple, but it needs to be done. If not, they may not give you a raffle permit the next time. Let's see. Money handling. Your treasurers are getting a huge class on this, but you guys, as Ways and Means and presidents, should know as well. Guidelines for handling money. Make a game plan with the treasurer. Make sure your treasurer is present. Haven't you ever had it at the end of the evening, it's only you and your kids standing there and you have this money? Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Always make sure there's 2 adults ready to count and process the money at the end of every event. 2 people always have to count the money. They cannot be related by blood, marriage, or live in the same household. So you and your child cannot be the ones to verify. You and your husband cannot be the one to verify. Please have an additional board member or PTA member with you when you are counting the money. I like it to be the treasurer, but I understand that is not always possible. Count it in a safe and secure place. Don't stand outside where everyone just saw you take in these thousands of dollars and count them. When I used to have an event, I actually had an officer who was a parent, and he would take us to the safe with the money so we wouldn't have anything happen to us. Safety is always our top priority. Fill out the proper paperwork or the next best thing. You should have a paperwork where you line out all the checks, all the cash, this many 20s, this many 10s. Please fill that out. That form is very important to go with all of your deposits. Your treasurer is accountable for that, as are you in your audit. Secure the money once the counting is complete. If you do not have a safe in your school, you may want to get one. A safe, not one that someone can jump up and take away, but a safe that is actually secure. We don't want you taking money home at night and having anyone follow you. We've had several treasurers, their homes have been broken into. People have left it in their car. These are not safe actions. We do ask that you do not do that. Some of the schools have their own safe, but choose not to hold PTA funds, and we must respect that. Talk to your principal and see what they feel most comfortable about. All right, so this is a little more fun. Let's talk about types of fundraisers. There's so many different ways to do it, and different creative ways come up every year. The most important thing is we want them to be fun. We want the fun to be in the fundraisers. And we also want it to participate with our children and have them learn different lessons about accounting, responsibility, sales techniques. Those can be very positive things, not, oh, I have to go out. We don't recommend knocking on doors. We recommend reaching out to family and friends that want to support your family. Basic types of fundraisers. You can ask for donations. Direct solicitations, or direct pleas as I call them, are very popular right now. Many of your schools have them. If you'd like to raise your hand if you have a direct plea, that would be great. A direct plea is something saying we would like every family to give $100, $25, $65, $1,000. You can pick the number based on your community. You know your audience. This has to be optional. It cannot be required. But what those funds tend to be used for is extracurricular programs like the YMCA PE program, a music program, some kind of field trips, things like that. Those are usually extra things that we help and support our school. You're not paying for a teacher's salary. You're usually just enhancing a program that already exists. Again, a principal cannot demand that you do this, but they may ask for your help, and as an association, you can choose to do so. Direct pleas are becoming very popular right now because people don't want to go door to door. People don't necessarily want to sell things, but there are people that do. So some schools, you'll know your culture, prefer to have wrapping sales and candy sales and magazine drives because their community wants to get something for what they give. And I understand that. You want to provide anything that you think is going to help your students, your audience. Sorry. Sorry, never had that happen. If they can sell you want to provide an experience or an event. Barbara, can I help you with that?
I just wanted to throw in, somebody has already asked about how we can adapt this year. This year is going to be different because we will be off campus. No question about that. You're going to start the fall from home. If your kids are back on campus, that would be ideal, but the parent groups will not. So we are going to have to look at how we do fundraising remotely, digitally, online. So I have got the chat room open if everybody wants to type in any ideas they've already got. Normally, Kelly would never recommend completely reinventing the wheel. Whatever you did last year that was successful, you would probably consider doing again this year. But this year is the unicorn. It is different. So you are going to be looking at, if you do the magazine sale, paper wrapping sale, instead of doing the catalogs out to students in class, you're going to be doing a social media blitz, and it will be all online. Clearly, we're not going to be doing after-school popcorn sales or fundraisers with popsicles on campus. So please just start flooding the chat room with any ideas. And Kelly, if you're back.
I am back, but so are my dogs and my gardener, apparently. I'm so sorry. I am trying to keep this very generic, so it can go in a time capsule. But yes, usually we would provide experiences and events, like a movie night or a restaurant night. As Barbara stated, even if we can do that, they may not recommend that we have the 100 families in a restaurant. Some of the restaurants we used to do it that were very generous to us, they may not be open. So one thing I suggested to some of my schools, again, not to endorse a company, but to say, you know what, Panda's been really good to us this year. Maybe you guys could go to dinner, pick up dinner sometime that week. Remember, some of our families are unemployed and can't afford to eat out, and that's okay. The idea of restaurant nights and things like that is really for the event and the socializing, and we may not recommend that now. Even if we can, it may not be a good moral choice to do. So you want to take that back, and that's a hard call. So we may be going back to some more catalog-oriented things, or again, the direct plea. The other thing is it's hard to give to a PTA if your child is not on campus actually experiencing it. And we understand that. But remember, when we get back, they will experience it, and we will get back at some point. So we do need to keep that in mind and prepare for the future and continue to live for our children. And that is very important. One thing that is interesting is, you're paying for a PE program that's not there. Well, we're not paying for it now, but at some point we're going to. The other thing, and again, to take away from this evergreen presentation, funding is going to get cut. You may find that some of the programs that were available to you may not be available, and they may be reaching out to PTA. Please be clear about that. It is not because your principal didn't mismanage. It is not because they're begging for your help because they want to, they need to. We need to make sure that we keep this experience going as well as we can. It looks like all our kids have devices, so that has been a big thing, but a lot of you provided those devices, and you should be proud of yourself. So we may have to continue to do so. Selling a product, like Barbara said, catalogs, gift wrap, magazine drive. Back in the day, Nobel used to have $30,000 we'd make a year on magazine drives. I never believed it, but it's true. And that was a lot of fun. Indirect fundraisers are things like that. Grants and scholarships. So let's go on to grants and scholarships. That's a big deal. There's a lot of money out there in grants and scholarships. California PTA alone offers grants and scholarships to people, and that is a good thing to reach out to. It's not easy. There's a lot of people right now that are reaching out for grants and scholarships. But if you have someone on your board that knows how to do that, or if you know a family member, please reach out to them, because there are quite a few grants out there now that are very, very, very viable and can help you guys out a lot. So asking for direct donations is the next slide. You can ask for direct donations from parents. Like I said, a direct plea is a great way. Many of us do it. You do want to make sure that you know that it's completely optional. I like to have a graph that says if each family member, or if each family gave X amount of money, we would attain this amount of money and be able to afford A, B, and C. If you draw it out quickly, clearly, concisely, they tend to see it. They may realize that they can only give $10, but the goal is to have every family support the program. I think most of you can agree with that. If you need further information on a direct plea, I have some that have been very successful at some of our local schools, and they'd be happy to share with you. Okay, so please reach out to me for that. Donations from corporations. We'd have Family Fun Day and we'd reach out to Coca-Cola and they would bring us sodas for free. It was amazing. A lot of restaurants and bigger corporations will do that, but you do have to go through the system. For example, Smart and Final. You used to be able to go in and ask for a case of water. Now you have to write to their corporate. I see Barbara wanting to speak. Smart and Final is one of our sponsors at PTA, and they will do usually like a $250 grant or something like that. No, Barbara's just moving her mouth.
Oh, I'm sorry. When I type, I talk. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Good. I wanted to make sure. You're allowed to interrupt me at any moment. Corporations can be very generous. They do get tax write-offs. We are a nonprofit, but just so you know, right now they may be going through some challenges. So companies that you used to count on may not be able to give to you, but just know they did in the past, and still thank them. And hopefully when they can again, they will. Never be spiteful, because it's not going to help. You can get a lot more with lemonade than sour lemons. Coin drives, craziest thing. Pennies for Patients has been very, very popular, getting money for cancer. Some schools are doing it, Dollars for Dolphins at Darby, things like that. Kids can't necessarily sell magazines or give $100, but they can tend to give a little bit of change. And sometimes that's good for their morale and boost them up. And we like to do that for our kids. So coin drives have become very popular. They add up, believe it or not, but I do recommend that you actually count and roll your own versus setting it into a machine that costs money. And believe it or not, the banks charge you for it. Providing an experience and event, again, is what we would usually go back to. And today it may be not as easily done, but hopefully, at least by the spring, hopefully fall, we'll be able to do it. They usually are more work, but they're very gratifying. For example, more fun can build a more congruent community, and that's very important. If you're lucky, it becomes a tradition. I have to tell you that, again, I'm from Beckford, so my Beckford Family Fun Day is one of my favorite events. It is a huge, huge undertaking, but it started after 9/11. What we did as a PTA, and I was not really there, as a PTA, they chose to show our children some kind of celebration, to show our children that we can come together and not to be afraid. And they had a huge carnival. PTA spent all the money and they put it out, and they were not expecting to make any money. And it was such a beautiful cause that they made a lot of money. Sometimes it pays to make that investment, but remember, this is not your money. This is your children's money. This is the school's money, and you want to use it for that. In 9/11, they felt that was a great cause to get the community back together, and it absolutely paid forward like threefold. It was pretty cool. Again, it's a lot of work and a lot of volunteer works. Just because you're the chair doesn't mean you are the arms and legs and table too. Selling a product, things to consider. A reputable company, ratio of receipts to profits. How many volunteer hours needed? Is product offered by others in the area? Don't do a magazine drive if the school down the street is doing a magazine drive, or a See's Candy drive. Only so many See's Candy can be had in one household. Is it in line with PTA's values? Like I said, you might want to choose your restaurants and your product very carefully. Vendor-packed individual orders. Nowadays, a lot of the companies are really coming prepared. They have it all divided by your classes, by your student, alphabetized. Sometimes they'll deliver it, which is fantastic. I wanted to do a pie day. Does anyone know what pie is? 3.14, March 14th. Pie Day. It's a great celebration. It's all STEM oriented. It's fantastic. So I decided to do pies. Well, pies, even for Marie calendars, were not acceptable. So they told me, don't worry. You can take the pies and pick them up from Marie calendars and bring them in your car and park across the street, and the parents can pick up the pies from your car. Let's think about that. Does that sound kosher to you? That did not sound good to me. Having someone say, hey, buddy, go across the street and get some pies out of my car. That is not a good PTA representation. So I chose not to do the pie day that I've always wanted to do. Instead, we did a restaurant night at a pizza place where everyone could order pizza pies, and the restaurant gave us back 20%. Again, if it seems shady and nasty to you, don't do it. It's going to seem worse to other people. Indirect fundraisers. Recycling programs. Do you guys still have recycling programs? It's fantastic. Most of the recyclers in the area will come and pick them up. We started at Beckford years ago. We had a couple families who'd go around and pick up all of the classes, and we'd weigh them, and we'd have a contest, and it was super fun. In today's world, our environment is becoming even more important, so that could be a rejuvenance. It adds up. The little bottles adds up, and the kids love to bring them and weigh them and show with their friends that they won. So that's a fun thing. Box tops for education. This slide's a little outdated. Those are super cool now. You just have to scan on the receipt. You don't even have to cut out the little squares. That was always such a good activity at our house. I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy to just scan my ticket. Box tops, shopping programs like Ralph's and Vaughn's. Vaughn's is a little different now, but Ralph's and Food for Less, Shopperoo, things like that. I think Shopperoo actually just noticed that they're stopping as well. But there are some of those out there that are, things you do in your sleep. You're already shopping. You can scan your receipt and get some money to your schools. Other local merchants. So when you want to do a raffle or a silent auction, if you get your raffle permit, you can go and get a dozen donuts from Winchell's. You can get, something from Home Goods. A lot of the corporations don't do it, but a lot of the mom and pops will do it, especially for their community. Right now, our community needs to stand together. Again, if they can, they will, and if they can't, they won't, but you'll never know until you ask. Feel free to ask. When you do ask, try and look professional. Go with your little PTA shirt, a badge or business cards if you have it, and some letterhead that shows your PTA. They don't know that you're just, not someone on the street trying to get things for free. You have to show that you are a valid PTA, you are a nonprofit, and they have to trust you to give it to you. So please allow that. Restaurant nights we talked about quite incessantly, so let's go on. Grant writing, I talked about that for a second. Have a plan. Research the grant. How will you accomplish your goal? Keywords, when you scan them in, there are so many out there. Keywords, public school, grant, California, city, county, subject matter. There are so many that could be applicable to your school. A lot of people are getting healthy food grants and things like that, doing jogathons or whatever they call them now, Barbara, and offering healthy foods at their school. And some of those are getting grant funded. A long time ago, we planted a garden. The reason we planted the garden was so we could get a gardening grant, so we could plant the seeds, make the plant, feed the kids, and that gave us money back that could pay for our computers. You have to be creative. Again, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. These are great things to discuss at a class like this or in your council meetings. Wow, it's time for idea sharing. Anyone have any great ideas? I know Barbara's been taking some chat notes. Let's talk about that for a second, Barbara.
You know what? You've got an amazing group out.
She froze, saying how unbelievably amazing you are. We are amazing, aren't we? We have so many great ideas. She's still frozen, so I'm just going to keep talking.
Am I frozen?
Now you're back. Thank you.
Okay, good. Apparently my internet connection is unstable. Anything that you've done on campus, if you can figure out how to implement it off campus, make sure that your presidents are sharing this at their council meetings, and your presidents go to extra meetings that you guys don't go to. And they'll share that with the other schools in their area so we can all benefit from the collective mind. It's like, you figured out how to do this, then let's let the elementary school next door to us also do it. After school sales won't be allowed next year. You're not going to be on campus. So I don't know how you would do after school sales. And I promise you, no contact is going to be a huge thing. So you're not going to be able to sell food, or you're going to have to take your spiritware and put it online. I hope I've just addressed some of those questions. Kelly, you want to take it from there?
Well, and what you said, we're not going to be on campus. So hopefully our children will be able to go back to school, but they will be, a lot of you guys are at schools where parents are not allowed on campus on a daily, you don't drop your kids off at their classroom anymore. We used to do that when Barbara and I were PTA presidents at the elementary school, which, by the way, we were PTA presidents together at elementary school. She is a Dearborn mom and I was a Beckford mom, and then we went on. Things have changed, so you guys are kind of used to not being on campus and doing these things, so we're finding that social media is very important. We've been trying to get our social media contacts out to the district so they can reach out and they can share as well. So if you choose to do a magazine drive and no one else in the neighborhood's doing it, you know what? Maybe some other mom will want to buy from your magazine drive because they want to support a local school. So there's all kinds of opportunities. I don't know if you guys know, but Ira Weinreb is our district treasurer. He goes to everyone's restaurant nights. We used to think he never could cook because he'd go to a restaurant night every night. He now has shown that he's an excellent chef, but people go and help each other, and that's fun. If you guys are interested in some specific ideas, Skateland has been a fantastic fundraiser for this area in the past. They're gonna come up with some new regulations. They're gonna figure it out. It just may take some time. Setting your calendars when your new boards get in July, you may just want to jot down some dates that you potentially could have outside events and get that paperwork kind of in the motion so you get some association approval if you want to get ahead of the game. But be prepared that you may have to change the venue. Be prepared. Direct please and any sales online are probably going to be the way to go. Again, reach out to your local community and see. Even if they say you can go to the restaurant, it might not be a good choice. Okay, let's know our audience, get the approval from our principal and our board, our association, and let's make this the best year possible. Does anyone have any questions? Barbara can unmute you if you need.
Someone just posted out there, is there any way we can share our restaurant nights with other schools in our area? There absolutely is. If you like the 31st District PTSA social media sites, we have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We will promote your ideas. We will, if you post it out on your social page, we will cross train and try and hit a broader audience. So let's
But we need to know you have it.
Right.
So my council and probably most of your councils have asked you if you have those accounts. We have our own council accounts and we share with you, and we've been sharing those with the district. If we know it exists, or you hit us a little poke or email us or anything like that, like if you like the 31st District, they'll see you and they will absolutely share it. We have to work together. Like I said, Ira goes to every school in the area, even if it's our council or your council anywhere. He'll drive 20 minutes to support you. So please, please share that. And it also gives other schools great ideas, and it helps the restaurant that's helping you.
Somebody just asked about being allowed to fundraise right now, and you are in a suspended state. Yes, you did all sign the termination letters. LAUSD is scrambling like crazy to try and figure out their next steps. And this is the benefit of, if anybody asks you why PTA, this is why PTA. I am working with LAUSD every single week. We are online with each other with meetings, and they are coming up with a plan A, a plan B, a plan C of what next year is going to look like. And they're so focused on that. They cannot manage fundraisers right at this moment, but we are looking toward reopening up fundraisers again as of July 1st. So start planning. Today is your planning time. Suspended just means that you've chosen not to do fundraisers at this time. Anything that was previously okay. You did your RFA in September for all of your June, July, August fundraisers, and you had approval. When you signed that termination letter, you said, I'm not going to do it at this time, because the world just turned upside down on March 13th. And we're trying to get our feet back in underneath us.
So remember, you want to take care of your families, and there are families out there that will want to support you and feel guilty that they can't. We don't want to do that. We are here to support them. What we want you to do right now, not fundraising, is focus on the other three. Share the information that the district and the state put out. We put out all kinds of great resources. Where can they get free food? Where can they get free online tutoring? All of these things are vital. All of these things are things that people need and are looking for. You guys, if you want to start giving out information and places, we want you to do that stuff. But don't worry about the money. Focus on creating more revenue after July 1st and plan ahead, but don't start asking until it seems appropriate.
Can I jump in on social media? Yes,
Please.
you can have social media sites. And here are the rules about social media. One, these are not slam pages and they are not bitch boards. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. Factual information, positive information, promoting PTA events. If you have someone who comes out there and says, I don't like Susie, Susie is mean, then your PTA president and whoever else is administering your social media networks need to remove those posts and address those problems. You don't just ignore them, you just don't keep deleting them, they get addressed. But you can promote your events on social media. They need to be approved by your association and your administration, and then get out there and push and use all of the tools in your toolbox. Don't handcuff yourself by saying, oh, I can only send flyers out in the backpacks. That's yesterday's thoughts. Today's thoughts are Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and you absolutely can set those up. Everything that goes out there needs to be factual. It needs to be positive, and you cannot post pictures of your kids unless you have parental approval.
Fantastic. Do not engage in negativity. It will never bode well for you. Do not engage. Delete is my friend. Sorry. That's why I'm an administrator. We really appreciate you guys all joining us. I'm sorry Heidi couldn't join us. She's much more entertaining than me. But I hope you learned something today. Just so you know, you always have our information. Feel free. My email is NWVC, like Northwest Valley Council, PTSA@gmail.com. Feel free to email me any questions, but Barbara is the expert, but she's a little overwhelmed at times. So feel free to reach out. We have some great ideas. You're gonna really get a lot from your council presidents. Please go to those meetings if you can, and just learn from your friends. And unfortunately, I have to say it, but keep safe and be sane and hug your children. And remember, they will go back to school and you will